Well, welcome to the Cloud Made Simple webinar about Copilot for Microsoft 365. And it's a very exciting time. No doubt everybody's heard lots about AI in the last 12 months, and Microsoft had finally taken this AI and applied it to Microsoft 365. And so we're really looking forward to presenting how that's going to affect the business world. And we have got Mark Boyce, who is going to be joining us from England, and he is the Microsoft guru of gurus, and he is going to be taking us through Copilot today. So before we get started, I'll just go through a bit of housekeeping. We want to make sure this is an interactive session, so if you've got any questions, and I'm sure you will, there's a couple of ways to ask a question. We can just at the top of the screen there, you've got a Q&A button. You can click on that and ask a question. And Deepti is on the line as well, and Deepti will be there answering and moderating the questions that get asked. Or if you like, you can go into the chat and make a comment in the chat or ask a question there. So please, if you've got questions along the way, ask them, and we will answer them during the session. So what are we going to be talking about in this webinar? Well, first of all, we're going to ask the question about what is Copilot. So Mark will go through and explain exactly how AI has been implemented into the M365 suite. Then what are the actual real benefits to your benefits with Copilot? And to really explain that, we're going to show you examples of how it's used with all the applications with M365. So once you actually see that, I think you'll get a really good grasp of how, from a productivity side, that it's going to really save time in some of the tasks you do within your business. And then, last but not least, it's how you can set up Copilot with your business. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as just buying the license and starting. There's a whole lot of security requirements that you need to put in place before we can actually start using Copilot. But we'll go through that with you towards the end of the session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mark, who's a solution development specialist. Is a specialist in all things Microsoft, but especially Copilot. So Mark, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you.
Sure thing. Thanks very much, Gavin. Thanks very much for inviting me to talk to yourself and your customers around probably some of the most exciting technology that's come out since, geez, we go as far as to say the internet. To be honest, I've been working in the IT industry for the last 20 years or so now, and in more recent times, in the last 4 or 5 years, working as a Microsoft ambassador within Ingram Micro. And over those 20 years, I have not seen a technology that's been taken up as quickly as such as Copilot and AI and generative AI, all on the back of well-known products such as ChatGPT. And I will dare say that there will be no one that you've spoken to that doesn't know what ChatGPT is. So it's a very exciting time. We're talking about it now with yourself, Gavin, and everyone that's on the call at the moment. We're seeing a change of technology, and you can put a pin in it, being the start of 2024. Where the way you're working at the moment and how you innovate and evolve and change the way you do things within your own role will actually change as well. You'll find there will be a whole lot of time that will be able to be brought back to yourself to be a lot more creative and do those little jobs that you've been hoping to do that require a bit more thinking, instead of being inundated with those tasks where it just, oh, I've got to do that again, or I've got to go through the whole process of admin as well. So Microsoft have coined it as being the gift of time. And initially I was a little bit skeptical on that. But as I look further and further into the technology and what's capable of it, even just within the modern workspace, the Microsoft 365 space, it's becoming true. We've seen time given back to us from little tasks as well, and like Gavin says, we'll go through a couple of videos. Now I'm going to have to talk at a decent rate. Because we will have to. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to discuss. There's so much to give you an understanding of where things are at the moment. But we're going to compact it as much as possible. But there is always the chance of elaborating and going deeper with the team at CMS. I know Gavin's given me a very nice intro there, but the CMS team are well and truly on the front line when it comes to ensuring that their customers are A, secure, B, de-risking themselves for what technology is coming up, and C, being able to look at AI and adoption. So I might actually I might be able to take control from that, I think, Gav.
Yep. Go for it.
Perfect. All right, let's see if this works. Good old technology working for us. Now, I'll start with talking about, I mentioned the technology uptake, and there's been a lot of research, as you can probably imagine, around in the last few years around what the uptake of technology looks like leading up to AI. Now, I thought I'd bring this graph in just to give you an idea as to what it does look like. So, as you can see, smartphones, it took 16 years. This can be a very generation thing as well, where the smartphones were brought up really slowly. We got to things like iPhones and Pixels and Samsung devices, and we got there eventually. And they're just becoming smarter and smarter to the point they're almost our laptops these days. Then you look at the internet, 7 years. Instagram getting quicker. TikTok, it's not surprised that was under 9 months. But ChatGPT, since it came out in November 22, took 2 months. 2 months to reach 100 million users globally. That is astounding. So to go from the inception of it to being taken up and being used and talked about at parties and barbecues, 2 months. So if you take that and now put that into a business sense, just how much time it might take to bring AI into the industry, into your business, or into your role for yourself personally. Now, bringing it down here in Australia, there's a lot of research has been done down here as to what the AI might look like from a GDP part as well. Now, what they're stating is that by 2030, depending on the pace of AI adoption, we're looking at between 45 billion as a slow adoption of AI, all the way to, if we as Australia quickly adopt this technology and really use it in each of the industries, then we're looking at $115 billion in GDP. So that's by 2030. That's not far away. We might think it's 6 years. It's a long time, but in technology sense, and with a rapid influx of AI and AI capability, 5 to 6 years really isn't that much at all. Now, what we've got here is I'll sort of break that down. Now, it's a very busy sort of graph here, but what I'll get you to do is just focus on the left-hand side there. So where they see a lot of this additional added revenue will come from. So on the left-hand side, we've got two subjects being increased productivity and improved quality. Now, what we're going to be talking about today with Copilot for Microsoft 365 really is focusing on those two. The two on the right-hand side being new jobs and new business growth and creation are fundamentally what was going to come from the inevitable uptake for the first two on the left as well. So new jobs, some people might have heard of things such as prompt engineering. Now, just maybe just keep that in your back of mind of what prompt engineering is. A prompt is really just like yourself today, asking Google a question. What's the weather going to be like next weekend? Well, you're prompting Google for a response. But with AI, you aren't asking it, can you tell me what the weather is next weekend? You're asking it lengthy questions as if you were talking between ourselves. So the question won't just be just what's the weather going to be next weekend? Well, can you tell me what the weather's going to be like next weekend and the weekend after? And maybe compare it to what it was last year. and then it'll go away and give you those responses and come back to you as if I was talking to you and knew that answer myself. So that's what prompt engineering eventually will come down to, making sure we've got the correct questions to be asking the AI to get the most out of it. But let's just focus back on the increased productivity. Now, I thought I'd provide a few examples, very high-level examples as to where the Technology Council of Australia actually found these. So there are 4 industries, 4 key sectors in the Australian economy that they focused on, being healthcare, manufacturing, retail, and professional and financial services. Now, where they see generative AI having the most opportunity, and what number that is associated to, and what sort of value or driver of value that can be as well. So in healthcare, I love the healthcare part of it. Healthcare is unfortunately one of those unsung heroes when it comes down to uptake of technology, and it's really great to see how they were focusing on one of those sectors. So if you look at reduced medical administration, more one-on-one patient care, and I'm sure we would all prefer to have one-on-one patient care rather than a revolving door. In retail, so where we go and do our purchases, have better customer support, better personalized experiences, and streamline back-end operations so that when we are going to purchase a service or a product, that it does come through a lot quicker and a lot more seamlessly. Now, so we're talking about global AI and the uptake, and we're talking about what it looks like to Australia at the moment. Now, let's focus on how Microsoft are bringing this, taking this. Now, Microsoft are all in with AI and its subsidy being generative AI, which really focuses on machine learning and text and images. Now, you might have seen this in October of last year. So Microsoft announced that they were going to be investing an additional $5 billion into the Azure AI and AI capability, or just infrastructure capability down here in Australia. Now, they're going to be increasing their footprint of 20 data centers from 20 to 29. And just for an understanding, of data centers, where all the compute and all the infrastructure and all the big servers and networking resides that really service what we're doing, such as Microsoft 365 and now Copilot. So they're going to be investing $5 billion over the next few years. That's just here in Australia, not globally. That's a different feat. Now, they're not only just putting technology in and enabling it for everyone to use, but they're actually gone hand in hand with the Australian Signals Directorate and some of the TAFEs in Australia. This one specifically mentioning the TAFE New South Wales, where they're creating a Microsoft Data Center Academy. Now, what they're hoping to do there is increase the skills program to increase the capability of Australians by a number of 300,000 new capable Australians to actually talk about AI and security and infrastructure within the cloud. So it's a very exciting time. Now, I talked about ChatGPT coming up in a couple of months. Now, you might all know that OpenAI was actually the creator of that back in 2015. Now, OpenAI and Microsoft are now have a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar investment, Microsoft into OpenAI, where they're able to use the latest in the underlying technology from OpenAI that you still see in things such as ChatGPT. So fundamentally, if you're looking at ChatGPT, which is very public-facing, where all your information that you put in there, everything you search in there, including your business data, gets thrown out into the open for everyone to see. Microsoft are now taking that same technology and putting it inside the Microsoft ecosystem, where you as a business owner or a business user can actually leverage the same technology without the risk of any of your personal identifiable information or any of your company IP gets thrown out to the internet. It's all retained within the same tenant. So just another reason why Microsoft is definitely going all in on the AI. Now, this is going to be the very last slide where I go through a lot of the Microsoft-centric stuff before we talk about a little bit more around the actual Copilot family. But this is just a nice little value graph to provide an understanding as to where Microsoft have been adding constantly adding new features, new capabilities, the new ways of working within all of the Microsoft 365 family of licenses over the last 11 or so years, or 12 years now. So 2010, 2011, where we saw Office 365, so Word, Outlook, Excel, all bundled into that one license. And then as you see, as the time rolls through, we get new apps created. We Exchange Online, where all your email is being hosted. We've got Microsoft Teams in 2017, where we can now collaborate with your team members as well as some of your customers in a real-time environment. And all the way through to leveraging Copilot now. So in the orange, you see the AI and assistance that's been added in. In the green, you'll see the security and compliance, security being a massive one for AI. And we'll talk about that very quickly as well. So let's talk about, let's now focus down on the Copilot side of it. What AI now means to yourselves. The AI side of it covers the entire Microsoft ecosystem. There will be a lot of services that I could talk about that may not even be familiar to you. Things like on the screen, like GitHub, and Power Platform may not be familiar to some of you as well. But what I'm just showing you here is these are just the overarching almost like the parents of the Copilot system. And underneath each of these are different versions of Copilots. Now, today what we're going to be talking about is, if you look under the Copilot umbrella, I think I might have a little pointer there. I might not use it. Under M365. So this is the Copilot for Microsoft 365 that we're going to be talking about today. And that is the one that has exponentially been growing and starting in the enterprise market all the way down now in the last month in the SMB and the SMC market as well. So let's get a little bit more hands-on with Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, what I'm going to do is play a quick video. Which it's Microsoft video on Copilot for Microsoft 365. It's a great little depiction, it's a little bit of rev up to sort of give you an idea as to what's capable in there. So I hope this the volume works. Is the volume working there?
Yep, working, mate. Fuck, I feel like a rapper now. I feel like I need a gold chain around my neck.
I'd love to have a photo of that. Thanks, Gav. Oh, look, I've got to play that video. That video played on massive stereo sound. It's actually really fun. And that's actually music's actually really good too. Now, look, there's a couple of things. It went very fast, but effectively what you're seeing there is it rolled through quite a few different ways that you can use Copilot. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier on is Copilot. Why is it called Copilot? Why couldn't they call it AI something or other? But it's been branded by Copilot because effectively it is your Copilot. It is your AI assistant. You are the pilot. You're the one that does everything you need to do on a day-to-day. It just sits there as your extremely intelligent assistant where you use the correct prompts, going back to our prompt engineering, to ask questions of it. You tell it what to do and it'll go away and do that work for you. If you have the correct ability to prompt it to ask for the right information that is around your own environment, within your own network, within your own organizational data, it could be out there in the internet as well. It could be there to write something, to script an email, to start an email that you want to finish yourself. It will do everything that you want it to do, all within the confines of what you're actually wanting it to do. Now, There are a couple of Copilots for Microsoft 365 now. Focusing now, there are a couple of Copilots, sorry, and only one Copilot for Microsoft 365. You've got Copilot free. Now, I didn't change the costings on that. Sorry, these are USD costings. Gav will talk about the price of Copilot a little bit later on, but Microsoft Copilot, where you can ask it to compose things, to summarize web pages, to use the ChatGPT functionality, but within the confines and safety of your own Microsoft 365 tenant, is available for anyone that's got Microsoft 365 Business Standard and above. It uses commercial data protection, which means no searches are saved, no data leaves the Microsoft world. So you're not going to be training the public chat GPT models and other models that are out there. You're keeping everything within the safety of your own boundaries. And nothing will be looked at from Microsoft to train their own internal models as well. Anything you ask for, or anything that you ask it to do, any questions that you got for it, will be completely wiped from existence as soon as you close off or start a new search. Now, going across to Copilot for Microsoft 365. Now, that does everything that the Microsoft Copilot can do within your Edge browser or within your Windows 11 operating system as well. But now it starts to interact with all your apps. So it can interact with Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, Teams, and we'll take you through a couple of little snippets as to what that might look like as well. It's very exciting stuff. Oh, just talked about the second slide without even talking about that slide. So creativity, productivity, and up-leveling your skills is what Microsoft are focusing on here. So if you look at the creativity side of it, we're talking about Word and PowerPoint and Excel. So, oh, that video's not going to work, is it? Okay, we'll come back to that. So what it does, I can just quickly give you a summary of it. So with Word, it gives you the capability just to draft a Word document. Just say, for example, you've been asked to put a proposal together, or thinking on my feet here, anything that you need to do from an agreements or terms space, something that you might need to even pull data from that PowerPoint and that PDF document. So what you can do is that you can ask Copilot within Word to look at all these files. Now write something for me that is in regards to talking about terms and conditions, or a sale, or whatever it may be, a proposal to a customer, and write it in a professional sense, but write it in the same sort of way that I would. It will actually go ahead and do that for you. But again, it is your Copilot. You are the one that needs to go through that at the end of the day and think, okay, does that look correct? Does that look right? So don't just allow Copilot to go off and do all of your work and then finish it off, but allow it to help you effectively. So that's just another example of what you can do. Excel is another good one. So just say, if you work heavily in Excel, and just say, for example, you need to summarize tables, you need to provide new columns or new rows that are summaries of tables and columns that are in separate sheets. So instead of doing that manually, you can just highlight what you need to do and just ask it to do stuff for you instead. I've heard one example within a financial advisory firm where what they each year, what they had to do with this particular spreadsheet to make sure that customers understood what the data looks like within the spreadsheet, if they weren't there, was to provide comments on each of the rows, each of the columns, and even each of the cells as well. So what they do is they're now using Copilot from Microsoft 365 to actually provide those summaries of how they actually came to that result. So it's quite good to hear some more use cases as time goes on. Now let's talk about productivity. So the productivity looks at what we do on a day-to-day basis. So hands up if you're constantly in Outlook, you're constantly in Teams, you're replying to emails, there are big emails that come your way, and they could take a good 10 minutes to read through and then comprehend. Well, what Copilot from Microsoft 365 can do for you is, outside of even just starting to draft emails for you, it can provide summaries of emails for you. So I've even used it myself in the whereby I received an email that is quite long. It's quite a lot of detail to go through around business planning, or talking about presentations, for example. what Copilot will do will even just summarize all that for me into a couple of key notes that I can just go by, and, right, perfect, and then go back and write a reply to. Now, I've tested this out myself and thought, oh, that sounds a bit sketchy, but I even just went through entire email and compared it to the points that have been provided to me, and surprisingly extremely accurate. Now, the skills. Now, Microsoft 365 chat, I won't play this video because it's a very long one. So it's a new hero experience for Microsoft, for Copilot for M365. So it goes beyond the questions and answers, but what it can actually do is via 365 chat, you can ask it all sorts of questions, like an assistant really, similar to what Copilot is, but another version of it. And it'll help you solve a lot of your complex problems you might have for work now. So it's really is an assistant that's got maybe a deeper understanding, but then just focuses on a lot of the data that you already use now within your Microsoft 365 tenant. Past that. Now, I will show this I will show you two more videos, and these videos you can go see for yourself as well, and the CMS team will actually help navigate you there. But let's have a quick look at Teams. So if you've ever been in a situation where you have to be in two places at once, it happens. We live very busy professional lives at times. But what this will allow you to do is that if you got two things on at the same time, two meetings, for example, you don't have to go to that second meeting, but you can go to the first. But what you can do is you can still get a recap from it. You can see when your name was mentioned. You can see what action items, what sentiment there might have been as well. So you're not really missing any of the meeting at all because you're getting everything back from the meeting itself. And if you go to like I mentioned just then, the first meeting, well, if you're late to it, it'll give you a recap as to where it's up to so far. So the amount of time, I talked about the gift of time earlier, the amount of time that you can get back to yourself by leveraging the AI that's within your grasp now, it's actually quite astounding. And this is just going to get better and better as time goes on.
That means, Mark, that people won't have to join our webinars.
That's a good chance of it, but they'll miss out on the good music.
That's true.
Now, look, another one that I quite like as well is Outlook, and they do a great job here to sort of capture a couple of the Outlook items. Last video. So what I want to show you there is that I and I'm sure a lot of people do spend a lot of times with an Outlook, looking at emails, replying to emails, being a bit reactive, really proactive as time allows, if you're so lucky. But it's just sort of demonstrating how the cross collaboration between the apps now work. Between Outlook and Teams, Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint. And SharePoint, where all your data is hopefully residing for the most part. So really just summarizing it and sort of bringing that together as just an example of how that works together. Now, I love this little cartoon because I've seen it already happen. It's all good to use AI to build out your own emails and your own LinkedIn posts and your own little social posts if you need to, but effectively you're finding that a lot of it might be from AI as well. But yeah, it's a nice little funny item that I'll put in there. Now, much like anything, any new technology and adoption, there's always a pathway, there's always a journey. There's always something that needs to be ticked off to make sure that you, yourself personally, and the business as well that you work for, are de-risking themselves from implications. Now, we saw with COVID as an example that the remote work became a very big thing, and the new way of work became the new term, the new mantra for a lot of businesses, which is slowly starting to revert backwards to in-house meetings. But there's always a few problems that might come with it. Well, with the remote work came, security was even more greater concern. We've got global actors coming into our 365 tenancies because we don't have MFA turned on. We don't have policies in place to define what device is acceptable to actually view my company's data. So now with this AI as well, there are little hints of that, and that it definitely needs to be ticked off as you lean forward. But you would also need to be looking at other parts of it. So, and more specifically around, well, how does AI impact the way I work, the role that I'm in at the moment? So if you need to map out what sort of goals that you want to be using AI with, certain pain points and tasks that you know are quite medial tasks that AI can address for you automatically. Or even current capabilities. What sort of capabilities do you have, does the business have now that AI might be able to leverage on? Now, there are all of these questions and more CMS can help out with. AI is the new big thing, and there's a lot of FOMO out there to make sure we need AI now because we don't want to be left behind. But there is no point in jumping into a technology immediately if you don't have the capability to protect yourselves, to actually utilize it correctly to its full intent. And the only way you can do that is actually ticking off those boxes along the way, which CMS can help you with as well.
Mark, we just got a question, which I think we're having
Yep.
From Martin. Thanks, Martin, for that. Can you give us insights on how we might use Copilot to interrogate our SQL data?
Okay. So Copilot, there are many versions of Copilot out there, like I was mentioning earlier. Now, depending on, you can actually build your own Copilots as well. So you could use Copilot you could build your own Copilot to look at the SQL data and summarize certain aspects of it as well, depending on what the business need is. Now, if you're looking at these less pre-canned versions of Copilot, CMS again will be able to help you with looking at where you can build those versions of Copilot, can look at interrogate your SQL data. Now, what you can do with that data from then on in really just comes down to how imaginative you can be with it. And again, it comes down to business fit. So if you look at earlier, we're talking about those pain problems of what your organization's capability are. It really comes back to that moment where you've got the data sitting there. Well, how do we actually look at that a lot quicker or a lot easier? So there are definitely different versions of Copilot that can actually look at that for you. I mean, you might be able to go down the path of extracting the SQL data into some sort of CSV format for some sort of reporting, whatever it may be. I'm thinking out loud now. And then you could use Copilot from Microsoft 365 to scrutinize, interrogate that data and put it in more of a logical order where you as a person can actually read it correctly.
Yeah,
So
I think that would probably be the quickest way of doing it instead of building your own Copilot is download that info first.
yeah, but I probably what I'm trying to get at is there are different versions out there, and you can build your own Copilot as well, which is just a very exciting part. We won't be talking about that today. Now, one of the very last things I want to talk about before I hand it back over to Gavin and the CMS team is around the security side of AI. Now, more than likely, you've seen Medibank and Optus or more recently Medibank that they've found that guy that did over in Russia. But the security side of it is well and truly front and center if you're looking at implementing AI correctly into your organization. You need to have the correct conditional access policies. You need to have the correct data compliance policies. You need to ensure that the data that a person in your business as a receptionist has the correct access to the files that that person has access to compared to just say the CFO of the business. What we do so with Copilot from Microsoft 365, just say for example that receptionist does get a Copilot from Microsoft 365 license. What Copilot does is it looks at your entire Microsoft 365 tenant, and it will only come back and surface information and data for the use of that receptionist if that person has the correct access to view it. If that person has access to everything within your SharePoint, for example, and that could be a complete accident. It could just be that sharing wasn't disabled during migration. It could have been the sharing was only meant to be there for a day. But if that does happen, then that receptionist now could potentially see what the CFO's wage would be or their salary. It could see what the board of directors what information they're going to be talking about at the next board meeting. The information that is not pertinent to their role, but adds an additional insider risk to the business though as well. So having your data in place, knowing what you're talking about, having labeling in there as well, having the correct controls in there too is extremely important. And again, that is something that CMS will be able to help you out with. Even though you can get Copilot for Microsoft 365 with Business Standard, what we would recommend by far and away, and what Microsoft agrees with as well, is the base needs to be Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Now, I've taken a lot of time there. I'm sorry, Gavin. I will probably pass it over to you at this point, maybe to talk about next steps. And I hope everyone, I've got a little something out of that. We blasted through probably something that takes me about 4 hours in roughly about 30 minutes. So I hope the head's not spinning. And again, the team at CMS can talk a lot more about this in greater detail. Sorry, just Martin, thank you for bringing that up again. So that was on my fault. So the $30 USD per month is the USD pricing.
Yeah.
Now, Gavin's going to, I'll pass that over to Gavin at that point, maybe.
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much for going through Copilot. As you said, it's such a huge topic to go through in such a short time. But if anyone's got further questions, you just reach out to us. Now, Copilot, there's a couple of things with Copilot as far as requirements, and Mark touched upon them briefly. First of all is the price. It works out to be $538.80 per license, and that's an annual price. So unfortunately, they quoted in monthly, but it is paid all upfront. So it's an annual commitment paid annually. So the price per license is $538.80. So that's one thing. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just purchasing the license and off you go with Copilot. As Mark touched upon, there's a lot of technical familiarization and configuration that needs to happen so the data stays within, it doesn't get shared outside your organization, but the right people have the access to the information. So there's a whole lot of security and data governance that needs to happen. And to make that a lot easier, because that sounds more difficult, is that we have a Copilot assessment tool. So basically, the next steps are if you're interested in actually taking this a step further and looking to implement Copilot. Now we're going through this process right now with a couple of customers. So it's about going through once you go through the readiness assessment tool, then we help you implement the necessary security measures that need to be put in place. So, and we can do that for you, or we can outline what it is that needs to be done, and you can do it yourselves. But it is a process to get everything ready before you launch Copilot. So again, if you're interested in this, please reach out to us, and we can send you the readiness assessment and book in the process to get you underway. So that's it from us. Thank you very much for attending today. It's an exciting time, and it's at the start of it too. And where this leads us and the applications that will be built around this is just going to be so exciting. So it's a great idea to jump on board as soon as you can, so you can start getting those savings in time and productivity, and really getting an understanding of your business so you can drive it further and grow your business further. So if there's no other questions at this time, we will be sending out a copy of this webinar to everybody that's on the call today and anyone that's been registered. And yeah, if you've got Copilot by next time, you can just read the summary of this and you won't need to attend.
Can I access Copilot now to have a play? Unfortunately, there's no trials per se available for Copilot. So if you want it, you just have to purchase it annually. Yeah, sorry, Mark, you were about to answer and I just jumped in there.
I was, you did. Thank you very much. You're right. So Microsoft have made the decision. So Copilot for Microsoft 365 has really became generally available to the market we play in at the moment, outside of the enterprise, since mid-January. Now, there have been no trials, no internal use rights licenses, unfortunately. Just have a bit of a play around with it at the moment.
And there's the reason for that, Mark, just to jump into, there's so much you need to set up from a security perspective. So it's not as if you can just turn it on. Like, as I said, that we would recommend you've got to have business premium for starters. Then you've got to actually put in place the access, conditional access. Probably need to put Intune in. There's a bit of cost involved in setting up your organization from a security perspective. So unfortunately, just can't turn it on out of play.
Yeah. And Martin did ask me about what about the free version. So earlier on I mentioned there was you got Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365, and it's not like Microsoft, not to confuse things there. So it's a fair point to bring up, Martin. So Microsoft Copilot will be available to you right now within Edge. As long as you've got a business standard license at above and it's being all enabled for you at the moment, then yes, you can have a look at the free version. But the free version does not interact with the apps and your local data that you've got at the moment as well. It is really a version of ChatGPT, but it's wrapped around with the commercial data protection so that you can safely within that environment ask questions, provide data that you know about to get Copilot's feel or its response to certain questions you're asking without any of that data being leaking from your own tenant. So yeah, so you've got Microsoft Copilot, which you can use now. And then you've got Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is the paid for version where it interacts with all your apps as well at the same time. I hope that helps.
Fantastic, Mark.
Thanks,
Mark. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve, for monitoring the questions. As I said, we will send out everything, and good luck with everything, and good luck with your journey with Copilot.
Thanks, everyone.
No worries.
Thanks, Gavin.
See you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.